Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to our online info session for Ashton College's Continuing Education Department Red Seal exam prep courses. So happy to have you all here, whether you're joining us on Facebook Live, on our Zoom webinar, or if you're watching on YouTube after the fact. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is CJ McGilfrey. I'm with the Marketing and Communications team here at Ashton College, and I'm joined by my colleague Rita, who's our Information Services Coordinator. She'll be here in the background to answer any questions you might have about admissions or course start dates or anything like that. And we also have Victor Cole, who's one of our instructors here today. So welcome, Victor. Thanks so much for joining me.
Well, thanks so much for having me here.
Awesome. So just a couple of housekeeping notes for our attendees. I have put a little description in our chat box on Zoom. So we have some functionality to ask questions if you need. There is the raise hand function on Zoom. You can also fill out the Q&A box, and at the end of the session, we will be going to questions. If you're on Facebook Live, just drop us a note in the comments, and I'll make sure to check those before the end of the session so we can get your questions answered. If we don't know the answer to anything, or if it's super specific case by case, we'll just refer you to ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca, which is our continuing education email account. You can also give us a call anytime. The number for continuing education is 604-891-1256. We can answer any questions you might have. So with all of that out of the way, we'll get started on the info session. Thanks again for joining me, Victor. And to start us off, I always like asking faculty just to introduce themselves a little bit. If you could tell us a little about your experience and what brought you to teaching at Ashton College.
Well, myself, I'm a licensed automotive service technician. I'm also a teacher by career. I'm new to teaching. I'm still more of the mechanic than I am a teacher, if you're going by life balance. I bring to the classroom just over 20 years in the trade. And for those of you that can see me, I haven't been alive that long, so I hope I don't look like that anyways. But anyways, like I said, I haven't I bring over 20 years of the trade. I'm a licensed teacher, and I know what it takes to become successful. And it doesn't matter what you do, if you want to be a mechanic and or if you want to be a teacher, or if you want to be a marketing consultant, you have to educate yourself on it. And I will always stand behind anybody that says, you know what, I think I got to take this into my own hands. With education, it gives you control of your life, your future. I took the leap into teaching. I hold a bachelor's degree of Bachelor of Education. I got through Brock University. I'm studying an undergrad through Thompson Rivers University in BC for technology. So I'm going to lead you by my own example and say, control your life, educate yourself. If you want that license, get the help you need. I promise you. No matter what, it's never, when it comes to education, it's never a waste of money. It's always money well spent. No one will ever look at you and say, going to school and getting knowledge, filling yourself with knowledge and educating yourself on the subject is the wrong move. And no one will ever tell you that it's a waste of money.
I love that. Thank you so much. I didn't know that you were studying in BC as well.
I am.
But I remember when we first chatted.
Yeah.
You know, you're a teacher. You're also a lifelong student, and I think you really embody a lot of the qualities that we value at Ashton around continuing education and lifelong learning.
Yeah.
So thank you. Just for our attendees, so over the course of the session today, we will be talking about the Red Seal exam prep courses in a broad sense. Victor, of course, is our automation instructor. We also offer industrial electrician Red Seal exam prep course for plumbers, carpenters, automotive, as I said, construction electrician for cooks, steam fitters or pipe fitters, heavy equipment operators, and welders. So we may have a group of very diverse tradespeople joining us today. And we will be talking about Red Seal certification in general as it applies to all of those trades.
Mhm.
So let me just pull up my questions again. So my first question, very simple, so we can all get the basics of context. What is Red Seal certification?
Red Seal certification is a certification offered by the federal government. Okay, so just to give you an understanding of this, the federal government recognizes the Red Seal. Generally, the trades are controlled from province to province through colleges of trades through the provincial government. With the Red Seal, it puts it under a broad umbrella that let's say I live in Ontario, which I do, and I want to move out to BC and I want to work in as an automotive service technician, my license will be recognized in British Columbia, and vice versa. If you live in British Columbia and you want to move to Ontario, your license will be recognized. And the same thing goes if you want to move to any other province in Canada. Okay, it's a government seal, a federal government seal.
Awesome, thank you. I love just laying the foundation so we're all on the same page. And I love how you mentioned too freedom of travel within Canada, having a certification that is recognized across all these different provinces and territories. I'm curious, just right off the bat, aside from the freedom of travel, what are some of the other benefits for someone looking at getting Red Seal certification?
Okay, so the number one, a Red Seal certification. If you want to move to say the U.S. and go to work, they look at that. They recognize it, right? Now you'll have to write an equivalency test over there if you want to sign their safeties and stuff like that. But they'll treat you like a journey person. Most of the big employers there. So that's number one, and this goes right across for welding, for plumbing. It doesn't matter. It goes right across. This is what they look for. Right? They look for people with expertise. Canada, they hold the bar high because our exams, the curriculum isn't written by people that are teachers or anything like that. They're written by tradespeople, which means that the questions there are things that in the minds of these trade people that put this exam together, you should know. And the other thing is that there's a trick to that. So when you want to answer a question on any Red Seal trade, you got to understand that the question is talking about an action. It's not talking about what's written on a piece of paper, what's written in a textbook. It's literally talking about an action. Okay. Later on in the session, I'm sure I'll be able to go through one or two exam sessions, one or two exam questions. But like I said, the questions are all based off of actions.
Absolutely. We will definitely have time for that during the session today. So I know you and I talked about this a little bit in our chat earlier about the kinds of qualities that this exam prep course will help students develop. Could you elaborate on that?
So number one, you take my course. Like if you're looking for automotive service technician, if you take my course, you'll come out a better tech, bar none. I'm telling you right now, your diagnostic skills will go through the roof. You know why? I promote critical thinking in my course. I measure you 3 ways. For example, first I'm going to measure the knowledge you already have, the knowledge that you're retaining, and on top of it, I'm training you on how to write the test. All right, training you on how to write the test. There is a way to write a test. All right, and I'm going to train you on it. When I'm looking at the knowledge portion, I'm looking to see what you do know, and I'm going to give you more knowledge that's kind of going to pull it together for what you do know. Every single person that's taken my course will tell you they've come out a better tech every single time. All right, that's an example of an automotive. And I know I've talked to the guys that do electrical, plumbing, welding. They're a great group of guys. You'll learn a lot from them as well. Very knowledgeable people.
Absolutely. I think what you're describing is accurate for all of the faculty that we have. You're going to improve your trade skills for one, and also you're so right that a test taking, it's not a fluke. It's not something that people are just naturally good at. It's actually a test taking is a skill that you develop and can be improved upon.
Mhm.
Um, I remember another thing that we touched on was around critical thinking. And what I really appreciated is you made it so clear that it's not a prerequisite to take this exam prep course. Not everyone is going to have those strong critical thinking skills,
No.
but it is something that you will develop in the course. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yes,
absolutely. Definitely. And if you don't have it, I will help you develop it, and it will get better if you stick to the regimen that I give you.
for sure. Awesome. So could you describe the general structure of your course? I know it covers major topics required for the certification exam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the general structure of my course, I'm covering the major topics that's required,
Mhm.
but I'm covering them more than once, and you don't even realize you're covering it. All right. That's number one. Number two, besides the information part of it, when you're writing a test for automotive service technician or truck and coach technician or electrical, you're told to answer like 125 questions in 60 minutes. Okay, so you're talking less than 30 seconds a question.
Mhm.
I teach you how to read those questions. I give you practice tests. I measure your knowledge to make sure that your knowledge is there. And then if by the end of the course there's something that's missing, I can always say, hey, you know what? The province, they'll accommodate you. Bring a translator. If the
Mhm.
barrier is the language, you're allowed to do that. Ask for more time on the test. Guess what? As your instructor, I'm going to back you up. And I'm going to say, no, I've done this with them. I've gone through it with them. Here's my teaching license, and I know what I'm talking about. Um, Ask for more time, because some people, they just get anxiety. They go blank because they feel like they're in a pressure cooker and when they're learning, which is not good. No one learns like that,
Mhm.
right? So unfortunately, these are obstacles that you do have to face when you do have to write these types of tests. But you know what? If it was easy, everybody would do it, number one. And number two, I was a licensed mechanic before I was a teacher. All right. It does open doors for you. A trades license will never, ever, ever lead you down the wrong path. You might regret doing all the work and not getting it,
Mhm.
right? So,
And especially doing the work by yourself or trying to, study alone
well,
in order to succeed.
could you imagine being a 7-year apprentice? Right? Like, not that's why.
Yeah.
Could you, like, you're working in a trade, you're doing the work anyways, and no one's going to pay you the rate that you deserve, even though you could be the best mechanic, because in their eyes you're not qualified because you don't have the diploma on the wall,
Mhm.
right? So in a sense, like, when you invest in education, you're investing in yourself. So guess what? If you want to get a trades license and you don't, you're unsure, or you've paid the $100 or $150 to write it, and you weren't successful the first time, well, you know what? Coming to a school like Ashton College and saying, hey, you know what? I can't get my welding ticket because I couldn't believe what was on that test. I can't get my plumbing ticket. I can't get my mechanics license. Well, you're investing in yourself,
Mhm.
right? You're taking a step in the right direction. So, like I said before, education is never going to be a waste of money.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Um, so this is kind of a fun question, and I know it is specific to your course, but
Mhm.
could you describe your teaching style for us?
My teaching style,
Yeah.
I'm very sarcastic. No, but my teaching style is, I go through and I like an interactive class. So I want to hear input. I want to know when you don't know something. I want you to be able to build confidence. I'm not going to tell you that something is wrong, but I will encourage you to revisit it, and I will give you additional resources that will help you to understand.
Mhm.
Okay. because I'm not here to tell you that I'm better or anything like that. I'm here to improve you, right? And that's what I tend to do. And I have yet to have a student say, no, I'm not better after I took that guy's course. I don't have anyone that's ever said that,
Yeah.
right? If anything, I have guys that call me, hey, you know what? I have a problem with this car. Have you ever seen it before, right? Because I'm promoting critical thinking. A lot of these guys, without critical thinking, they lack the confidence to do the job to their full potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'll be surprised by doing some simple exercises, by a little bit of reading, and then having an open discussion on different problems that you come across in the trade. You'd be surprised how much you'll learn
Mm-hmm.
about various components, and what you could walk away with in a night, right? Sometimes it just takes one simple phrase that's going to stick with you and say, oh my God, the heavens opened up, and now oh wow, it's so clear. And then there's other times where you really got to work at it. And I'm a human being as well, and I've been through it. I've had to work at certain things to understand it, right? But once you have the knowledge, you can't no one could take it back. It's yours.
Mm-hmm. I think you touched on a really interesting aspect of online learning, specifically with Ashton, is that it is live. So these are not pre-recorded lectures. There is that face-to-face interaction, especially for a prep course.
Oh yeah, and how great is it that like you could sit there on your couch, stream it. You don't have to watch TV. I'll entertain you, right? But it's good because you're in the comfort of your own home. You could go, like, if you have to go and get a drink because you're thirsty, you get up, you go get a drink. You're not disrupting anybody, right? The classes, they're recorded, so even if you do miss a portion of it, you can go back and view it. As an instructor, I post the entire course online through G Suite, Google Drive, so that you'll have access to the course and the materials throughout your time at Ashton, and for a little bit of time after, until I hear the news that you got your license, and thank you very much.
Amazing.
All right, so you will have access to all my resources, all my practice tests, everything.
And so I know you talked about the practice tests and a little bit about the structure of the course. I'm curious what expectations would be for you of your students during the course, how much time they would need to be spending reviewing material outside of class, that kind of thing.
So I'll put it to you like this. You can never know everything. So when you take a course like this, I'm going to give you material to cover, of course. I'm not a fan of long answers because you're not writing long answers on a trades test. So all of my assessments for my students, they're all done through multiple choice, but it's done in a way that I'm measuring your knowledge, I'm measuring your comprehension, and I'm measuring where you are as far as taking the test goes, right? And you'd be surprised from week 1 to week 10 what a difference I see. Because once again, I'm training you to take the test, right? Most students, they have the knowledge, they have the background, they don't know how to organize it in such a way that it's ready for them to use when they have to answer questions.
No, that makes perfect sense as you describe it.
So.
Yeah. I just wanted to add, we have some folks just joining us now. So we do have the Q&A function on Zoom. You can also do the raise hand function. We will be doing a question and answer period at the end. Yes, I see one hand raised. If it's super pressing, you can drop it into the question and answer box. We may cover it during the session though. If not, we will make sure that we open up the floor at the end. We can even put you on the mic and you can ask your questions. Same if you're joining us on Facebook Live. If there's anything that is not covered today, or if you have a specific question about enrollments or admissions or case by case, that kind of thing, you can always reach out to us at ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca. or our phone number, 604-891-1256. So just wanted to add that for the folks who just joined us. So back to you, Victor. Let's jump to another question. Oh, okay. This is a really exciting one. I know we talked about it a little bit in our chat earlier.
Yeah.
How can students be more efficient so they don't run out of time on their exam?
Well, there's a lot of ways that you can answer a question like that. The best way is to literally, you have to train yourself to take this test. It's not an easy test. I took it. Obviously, I was successful because I'm teaching the class. The best way to train yourself on any multiple choice exam is to know what you're talking about. Okay, when they put questions out on these exams, on all these trades exams, it's very narrow in as far as the answer goes. Like all four answers may look like they're the right answer, but there's only one right answer. The only time that you get the correct answer is when you know what you're talking about. Like it's got to be like dead on, like A, B. No, it's none of the other three. It's B, right? It's like that's how you're successful in these types of tests. Now, as far as yourself goes, you got to understand that you have under 30 seconds to, per question. The best way to take a test like this would be to use your pre-existing knowledge. Go through the test, fill out what you know, right? You'd be surprised because there's going to be women's questions on there that, I have high school students, they can answer those, right? Something like women's, right? There might be a workplace safety and insurance board question on there, right? Under shop safety, right? So, that's common knowledge in the workplace. And if you've been in the workplace for 5 years, you'll be able to answer that off the top of your head. And then there's things that common stuff that everybody does: oil changes, brakes, jacking up a vehicle, shop safety. You should be able to answer the bulk of those questions like right away, like one after the other, right? Just by going through it. Then once you're done, you go back to the beginning of the test and you just fill in the blanks of what you haven't done. And that's what you spend your time on. That's just an example of, of a way of a method to take the test. There's more than one way, right? But like I said, that what I do in my course, I train you on how to take a test like this, and I try to give you the knowledge that you need, right, to get through this, right? And you'd be surprised. I tell people, guys, it's gonna sound redundant. Bear with me. And then after I'm done, oh wow, I didn't realize that. I thought I knew better. That's what I get. So
awesome, thank you. So we do have a question from an attendee. Fernando is asking, can a person from Alberta take the Red Seal exam in BC?
So what you would have to do, you would have to call the College of Trades in British Columbia, and you may have to get some paperwork mailed from the College of Trades in Alberta to BC. Like they'd have to mail it directly, and then you'd have to talk to them directly. The College of Trades in Ontario, they have access to your social insurance data, so they could see who your previous employers were, how long you were employed, right? And I'm sure that the same information, because they're governing bodies, so I'm sure that the same information would apply in each province. I just don't know how they would do it if you have an Alberta address, but you want to take the test in British Columbia. I don't know how that would work, that aspect of it. So I would recommend contacting the College of Trades in BC, because they may be asking the College of Trades in Alberta for information, which you'd have to coordinate.
And just to clarify or sort of expand on that, so if you were from any of the provinces, but you relocated to BC and you're now a resident of BC, you would take the exam here, and that would be fine?
Well, I don't see why it wouldn't, because as long as you meet the challenges of it, they for example, if you don't finish your apprenticeship in Ontario, let's say you only did a level 1 and you breezed through your level 1 apprenticeship at Centennial College, because that's who the preferred one is for Ontario. What would happen is you'd have to get and you wanted to challenge the exam, the license exam, you'd have to get employment letters and get them signed, and then you'd have to present them to the College of Trades, and they would verify them by the amount of time that it shows that your social insurance number was there, like them paying their tax benefits, right? So they would verify it that way, and then tell you yes or no if you're eligible to write the test, right? And there's a certain format that you have to follow when you write these when you get these letters written, and this is a good reason to stay on good terms with your employer, even though some people, like I know I've been around, all right, I was in the trade a long time, and I know how some guys are to work for. You may need a signature from them, right? Otherwise, you may be knocking on the door of the Commissioner of Oaths and paying them $50 to sign it for you, right? Because what happens is that means that you're under oath, and if you're lying about it, it's perjury. So that's
the easiest thing is to be on
just
good terms with
be on good terms
employees.
with an employer. Walk in there, and even if you're not on good terms, you have to say, well, I did work here, right? It's just it's like I said, that's up to the individual, but there's more than one scenario that they can could use on something like that, right? Like I'm just not aware if, say, you did your training in Ontario, and then I decided to move to Vancouver and write my license there. I don't know if the College of Trades in BC would recognize my training. I know that they would recognize the certification, right? But the certificate of apprenticeship, it doesn't have a red seal on it. Only the license does.
Thank you for clarifying. That's fantastic. We do have two more questions from the floor, which I think might be nice to address before we go on with the other questions I have for you. So the next question is from Anil. I'm not sure I fully understand the wording, but the question is any Canadian electrical code exam needed to be cleared before you challenge the Red Seal exam? I think the question's on other exams before.
So for that you'd probably be better off directing that to the gentleman that teaches the electrical. But as far as I know, when it comes to code, the electrical exam, as far as I'm aware, that in Ontario, you're allowed to bring the code book in. It's thicker than the Bible, right? So good luck if you have to look anything up, right? You'd have to know it like the back of your hand. But in Ontario, I remember guys telling me that you were allowed to bring in the code book, but like I said, it's thicker than the Bible. So as far as electrical code exam, I'm pretty sure that the Red Seal for electrical, that it's covering the code, and then they elaborate more on it when you get into masters and licensing like that. Then those licenses are not easy to get.
Yeah, well, thank you for touching on that. And Nell, absolutely, if you want to email ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca, we can pass that question along to the instructor for electrical. Absolutely. One last question before we go on. This is also from Manila. So I am a new immigrant in Canada. So how can my experience be checked by Red Seal? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, actually. Anil, do you have any proof of your accomplishment in wherever you're from? Do you have any proof?
Here, I'll put you to the microphone.
Okay.
Anil,
yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I have an experience certificate from India. Actually, I have 23 year experience in electrical field only.
Okay, so Anil, what they may do, you'd have to. What province do you live in?
I'm in Alberta.
Alberta. Okay, so what I would recommend, I would contact the College of Trades in Alberta, and they're gonna ask you for a verified copy of that trade certificate that you have, and you may have to get it notarized. right?
Okay.
Saying that, okay, and they may allow you to write the Canadian license just with that, or you may have to take a refresher course, right? Such as something that we offer at Ashton. That would depend on the College of Trades policy. So if you were in Ontario, you'd be taking a refresher course. But
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know how the Alberta government's going to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Victor, for your info.
No problem.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I have a couple more questions for you, Victor.
Yeah.
So we kind of already covered efficiency and exam accommodations. Another fun one. What do you think students will enjoy most about taking an exam prep course with you, or any of the other ones that we offer?
Well, I'm a cool guy, so you're gonna enjoy taking my class. But as far as that goes, you know what? We all got into trades because this is what we like to do. All right, don't get it twisted. I became a teacher because it becomes time after over 20 years, right? I've been doing this since I was a kid. It was time for a change, right? Don't get it twisted. I'm not paying someone to put brakes on my car or to fix my wife's car or anything like that. I'm still doing it myself. I like what I do, and I enjoy helping people. That's another reason I became a teacher. And just so that everybody knows, the best part about taking a course like this is you get to talk with like-minded people, right? Like everybody that's there, they're all there for the same purpose, right? And it's good to learn from each other, because just as much as I teach, I learn from my students as well. So it's good to learn from each other, to have conversations like, hey, I had this problem with the car and this is what I did, this is how we went through it, and and to throw ideas around, right? That's a lot of fun. If you're not having fun doing that, I don't know why you got into a trade, right? That's what it's that's a trade. Right? That's what it's all about. So,
Awesome, thank you.
No
I always
problem.
like asking people that question because it's a fun one to chat about.
Yeah, of course.
Why don't we move into talking about the labor market a little bit?
Sure.
In the demand for qualified people with Red Seal certification. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, other than you can't find any.
So it's high demand.
The demand's crazy. And it doesn't matter what trade you're in. The demand's nuts. Every time I drive down the street, I'm looking licensed welder needed, licensed mechanic needed, plumbers. They're paying licensed plumbers in Ontario like $60 an hour, and nobody still wants to do it. Like $60 an hour, and people still don't want to do it. So like I said, the demand's there. And what the unfortunate part is, unless you have a piece of paper that tells you, right, and that proves that your accomplishment, that you know what you're doing and you hold some knowledge in the subject, you're not going to get compensated for it. People don't realize that. And I think that's a big part of what's lacking, because I do know a lot of guys that are mechanics, right, that own their own shops, and and they're great mechanics. Unfortunately, they can't sign a safety because they don't have a license. And the other part is, no matter how bad business is, they're paying a licensed mechanic to be in the building at all times so that they can operate the business, right? And these are fully capable people, right? So you're like I said before, you're doing yourself an injustice, right? Whether you take a refresher course or not, I would urge you that if you're overdue to get your license, go write it. Like I would urge you to take that step in that direction, right? To go write it, because you never know what happens. If you're not successful, hey, maybe you could look at re-educating yourself. But I would urge you, go write it, because you go from eating craft dinner to chewing steak, all right, with that piece of paper. It's insane. One day I'm busting tires and I'm making $400 a week, right? And then I go get this license, I show it to my boss, and he says, okay, well, we're gonna start giving you stuff that's a little bit more advanced. It wasn't more advanced. I was doing it anyways for the license guy.
But you're getting compensated
But now I'm getting
and
compensated.
recognized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Huge
it wasn't more
difference.
advanced to me. I said, yeah to him, but I was doing the work anyways for the guys that were making the big money.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's why don't underestimate yourself. I really say, like, even if you say, nah, maybe the course isn't for me, go write your license. Go write it anyways.
Mhm.
So, you know.
It sounds like for you personally, getting certification made a huge difference in your life. Would you
Okay,
say that's
so
accurate?
you know what never lies is numbers. All right, I'll tell you this. I made $41,000 as my best year as an apprentice. Okay, my best year as a licensed tech, I made 210.
Yeah.
Okay, so these numbers don't lie. All right. Okay,
Yeah.
that was my best year as a tech, and I was working in Alberta. All right, when I made that. Just so that you could have everyone could have an understanding. It
Mhm.
is a substantial difference. Oh, and my worst year as a licensed tech was 65.
So
So
still.
I was still way above,
Mhm.
right? And I've been on CBC News twice. I've been on covers of magazines, all kinds of stuff. And I wouldn't have been looked at for this if I wasn't certified. They
Mhm.
would have just looked at me like, no, that's our tire buster. Right? That's our oil guy, right? And like I
Mhm.
said before, I was still doing the licensed guy's work anyways,
Mhm.
because the guy that I was under, he was making me do his work, right? Well, he worked, but he was double dipping. He was getting the rate from me doing it and the rate from him doing the work, right?
Mhm.
It's like he had a helper. Okay, so guys, I'm just telling you, like it's worth it. It's worth it. That even if you waste $150 to find out, hey, I need this, you'll get it back.
Mhm.
Believe me, you'll get
Yeah.
it back.
Huge return on investment.
Yes.
Awesome. So there are a lot of different options out there,
Mhm.
some that we've talked about, and I'm curious, in your opinion, why should someone choose the Red Seal exam prep course with Ashton College? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm teaching it. All right, but you know what? Even if you decide not to go with Ashton College, but you decide to educate yourself anyways,
Mhm.
I would say it's a step in the right direction, right? Like I am the instructor for the automotive service technician, right? Red Seal. But even if for whatever reason you said, no, you know what, the online thing doesn't work for me, I like to be face to face, whatever, that's fine. Take a step in the right direction. You never waste money with education.
Mhm.
All right. And I guarantee you that you're going to know something when you leave that you didn't know before. All right. I'm telling you, it's always a step in the right direction. And you know who makes it? The lifelong learners make it. All right. 210,000 didn't come because I decided just to do brakes and oil changes and, and I kept it simple. No, I
Mhm.
learned how to fix autonomous cars. They're not even on the road anymore.
Wow.
But I learned, right? I learned how to
Mhm.
fix hybrids. I learned how to fix fully electric cars,
Mhm.
right? I learned how to fix diesel. I learned how to fix construction equipment, right? That's what moves you forward,
Mhm.
right? Is just the desire to learn, right? So even though like the piece of paper made the difference for financial, that a lot of that lies on you as an individual to keep educating yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But it's an investment, the education. It's not a waste of time. You're not sitting in a classroom listening to some guy babble on. You're investing in yourself. So
Absolutely. And I think that sentiment is so true for all of the courses.
yeah,
That
that's why
you
that's why I say it doesn't matter what
Mhm.
you're doing. This is just what I teach, and I'll tell you, like from personal experience. But I'm
Mhm.
sure that it doesn't matter who you put on air right now. Any of the Ashton's instructors who are top notch, by the way, all the guys are top notch. Um, any of them that you put on here will tell you the same thing. No, I had to keep learning, right?
Mhm.
But as I kept learning, I made more money, right? But it
Mhm.
started by me getting my license, Like every single time, it doesn't matter what tradesperson you talk to, they're going to say, no, it started with my license, right? And then I learned this, and then I learned that, and then I went and did this, right? I'll tell you this. I won't even tell you what I learned in automotive. It started with my mechanic's license, and then I went to Brock University and got a Bachelor of Education and became a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll tell you right now, just that pathway, right? I'm not telling you anything in between. I'm just telling you the simple pathway, right? That the diplomas on the wall speak for.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate you touching on all of that. So Victor, we do have another question from a Zoom webinar attendee. Richard is asking, okay, so this is for electrical, but I think we could speak in maybe a general sense. So the question is, how many people are normally in your course at one time online? He's saying for the electrical Red Seal prep course, but you could reflect for automation.
So I've had as little as 3 people in my course, right, for an automotive, and I've had as many as 20. It just depends on the time, right? It just depends on the time of year. Is it with 3 people? Yeah, I think you might take more away from the course, right? Because I could spend more time as as an instructor and work with you a little bit more. And I'm talking about just myself. I can't speak for the gentleman that does the electrical course, right? But it varies, okay? But I guarantee you this, that no matter what the course is that you're taking at Ashton, the instructors, they all know what they're talking about. They can all reiterate exam questions because they all wrote the exam, right? They're going to tell you the same thing I'm telling you about automotive, that this is what you can expect. And they're going to tell you that, no, you can't go cold into one of those tests, right? There's very few success stories for that, right? You have to train yourself to do it.
Yeah,
right?
It's like running a marathon without warming up first or something.
Well, I'll put it to you. I'll put it for all the sports fans out there. What would professional sports be like without a coach? Okay. I'm just like what would the NHL look like without a coach behind the bench? What would the NBA look like without a coach? The NFL, right? Like this is what you're getting from a refresher course. You're having someone coach you on how to do it, the best way to do it, the way that's going to make you successful, right? And everyone's going to look at different avenues to say, hold on one second. It's not, you might get an instructor say, hey, this isn't a knowledge problem, eh? You have anxiety when you take this test, right? We're looking for that. Every single one of us, we're looking for this. We're looking to see, hey, is this guy okay taking the test? Why can't he finish? And then, you start to ask questions, right? Everyone's measuring the same things, right? And we're all looking for student success. We're not looking for, just for recognition. Like we're in this for the students. We're not in this for ourselves.
Yeah, and the student success is your success in a lot of ways.
Of course, absolutely, right? But that's it. Just goes back, right? To one hand washes the other, right? It goes back to no, but it's true. You do your job properly, it shows, right? Tampa Bay won the Stanley Cup, right? Last night they did. Okay. That goes back on that coach, right? Because that's been the same, that team, it's been the similar team for the last 4 or 5 years, but this was their year, right? It goes back on that coach. The coach figured out what works for him. So.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I think this is sort of building on a little bit of what you've spoken about, but could you reflect on the experience of preparing to take an exam by yourself compared to preparing with a refresher course like this?
Okay, so I went to prepare. Guys, remember, I'm a teacher, and I'm telling you this. I went to prepare for my Red Seal myself. Okay, so I read half the textbook. And I read another couple manuals for resources on clutches, electricity, you know, the hard stuff, right? And the drivability. And then I said, I'm not retaining this information because I'm trying to eat the sandwich in one bite. Okay? I'm trying to put this giant book in my mouth all in one shot, 2,000-page textbook, right? I'm trying to put that into my brain. So I approached a friend of mine that was a teacher, okay? And I asked him, I go, I'm going to take this exam. What do you think? He goes, take my class. And I'm like, what do you mean take my class? He goes, well, take my class. So I'm like, but I have no money for that class, right? And he told me, he goes, you're an idiot. That's what he said. He goes, you're an idiot. You invest in yourself. He goes, I guarantee you that the money that you give me for my course you're gonna get it back 10 times, right? He was right. He was right. He was someone like the way I am right now, a teacher, right? That used to be a mechanic. He was exactly like me. He was a mechanic that became a teacher, right? And now he's retired. Because I've been licensed for a long time, so now the guy's retired. But he's the one that taught me, you know, take the course. So I went to his school in Oakville. He had it like me. He taught in a high school like I do, and then he had a shop, and then he had a classroom above the shop for, you know, to teach these courses. And his course was 3 months long. I got 96% on my exam.
Wow.
All right. Like that's why. Like I got a really good mark on the exam. But he got me through the skepticism of making an investment, right? Because we were buddies. Like I knew him from the trade, right? And he talked to me like a friend and said, "No, are you nuts?" Right? He goes, you're investing in yourself. You don't know what you're going to get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I was just looking at immediately what was in front of me, right? I didn't see the bigger picture, and unfortunately, that's something that I can't help you with, right? As a person, all I could do is tell you there is a bigger picture out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't be afraid to go and challenge and try to write the exam if the College of Trades where you live will allow it. Okay. The worst thing that could happen is you're right back where you are right now, right? And Ashton will take you. All right. We will take you, and we will get you into the mindset that you need to get in to be successful on the test.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it doesn't matter what trade it is. Okay. I will always recommend that if you're doing something like this that's life changing, make the investment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because it will change your life. I promise.
And I think you speak to something really interesting there, that a lot of people just frankly have a hard time investing in themselves. There's a lot of doubt there, and unwillingness to invest in yourself.
Well, it's not that. A lot of people, they don't want to put the time in. They have kids. They have to work. They like, you know what? And you know what? I'm sympathetic to a point, because guess what? I have to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was no different than anybody else. I had to work. I gave the guy money that I didn't have to take, to learn how to take this test, right? And he wasn't the one testing me, right? It's a government test, okay? So, he wasn't the one testing me, so he couldn't give me the questions, right? But what he did, he showed me that you have to measure this, you have to measure that, and then you have to train yourself to think a certain way so that you could get through the questions faster, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of students that I get, they just don't know how to write the test.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's a different skill than just being good at your trade, right?
Of course. Well, listen, there's doing your ABCs when you're 40 years old, and there's doing your ABCs when you're 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there's journeymen out there that's been in the trade, that's ready to retire. They'd probably breeze through the test in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
right? But you're talking about someone that's been fixing cars maybe going on 40 years. Okay, so and from what I see coming through in my class in Ashton, it's people that have been in the trade 5 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is generally what I'm getting. So you're not gonna, number one, you're not gonna work 40 years on apprentice pay, right? Like that's insane, right? To do something that long.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number two, you put the time in to learn the trade. You've made the investment in tools. You've gone to school, right? And you've done the theory behind it, right? You've made yourself eligible to be in the position to write the test.
Mm-hmm.
I would urge people that, hey, you know what? If you're in that position today, right, go write it. If you're on the fence about, I don't know if I want the refresher course, whatever, I'll always recommend education, right? You'll never go wrong, right? You'll learn something in my class, you'll learn something in the electrical class, you'll learn something in the plumbing class, you'll learn something all around.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're on the fence, go write it. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're just going to come back and, I'll be happy to coach you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Victor, we have a really great question from Fernando again. This is specific to electrical, so I'm going to rephrase it for you because I want to address both. But
Yeah.
So the question itself is, in electrical code, there was a huge revision. How does the Ashton instructor update themselves? Now, obviously, you're not the electrical code instructor, so I think that question we would want to contact that specific instructor.
Exactly.
But I want to rephrase it for you is, with changes in the industry, in your industry, how do you stay current and do you update your material?
Of course I do. You know what? I sat in a class to learn how to fix an autonomous car. I sat in a class to learn how to fix a hybrid vehicle. All right. I know the gentleman that teaches electrical. He's a stellar guy. He's up to date. I'll tell you right now. You don't even have to message him, or he's up to date. Believe me, they made a revision of the electrical code. He's all over it. Believe me when I tell you. All right. I've had a conversation with him. He's extremely intelligent. All right, and he knows what he's talking about. That guy, he's up to date. All right. So just so that I'll answer it directly, but I'll tell you right now that as far as the new technology in automotive goes, I sat in a classroom, all right? And so did every other instructor. They sat in a classroom, they didn't try to figure it out, they learned it, okay? And once you learn it, you know it. And that's it. And I've applied it, he's applied it, I know he's applied it. Like I said, he's up to date. I know he is.
Awesome. I'm so glad you were able to answer that.
Yeah, because I had a conversation about this with them.
So Fernando, I hope that helps clarify for you. And too, for folks, if you're joining us on Facebook Live or Zoom, or if you're watching on YouTube, I think we can safely say that that's true for all of the instructors here. We, maintain the most up-to-date standards, and we're all lifelong learners, just like we encourage our students to be.
Yeah.
So Victor, we have about 5 minutes left in our session. So I just wanted to open it up to the floor.
Yeah.
Anyone on Zoom, you can use the raise your hand function. I can unmute you if you want to ask a question out loud. You can also type in the chat box or in the Q&A box. I know we've had quite a few questions already, but I just want to open the floor and give space for that as well. I'm just going to jump over to Facebook Live, see if we have any questions there. One thing I will share is a useful link for all of our attendees. This is the Provincial and Territorial Apprenticeship and Certification Authorities on Red Seal. So you can check out that link if you need additional info. Oh, here's a question from Richard. Is there a difference between the Alberta and BC Red Seal exam? Victor?
Okay, so it's going to be different. Not extremely different, because a car in Ontario is the same car that's in BC. It's the same car that's in Alberta. The emission standards that are on vehicles are federal emission standards, which means that It's under a the Canadian government umbrella. So the job is going to be the same, all right, as far as the car goes. The questions, they're going to be, how do I put this? They're not, you may not get the same questions on the BC exam as the Alberta exam, okay? But the questions, like the test will be doable in both, as far as knowledge goes. If you have knowledge of the subject, you do it every day, all right? The test will be passable, all right? I'm just gonna tell you, like when they write a trades exam, all right, they don't write it so that you can't pass it, all right? They write it so that you can pass it, and you're meeting their standards, meaning if you're working on a car, for example, and you're doing your mechanics exam, they're making sure that you're able to do the job on a car safely and keep all your fingers and toes intact, and that you're not going to give the car back defective so that whoever owns the vehicle is going to have a problem, right? When you're writing electrical exams and they're talking about code, right? Well, they want to make sure that whatever you put in a building is not going to burn it down. Okay, like, you know, at the end of the day, right? Like these trades. Anil, he's from India. He did electrical there, right? I know in Ontario that they do a refresher course because the code in Ontario doesn't mirror India. Okay, so you know that's why I could speak for Ontario. But I bet you that if Anil, you know, wrote the exam here, if the government recognized it as, okay, we'll let him write our exam and see how he does, I bet you he'd get it. Right? I like to be, because at the end of the day, it's the same job that he was doing there. Electricity still works the same way. Right? So I hope that helps.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you so much. I think that's very helpful for clarification. Just before we wrap up, do we have any last minute questions from our attendees?
I've been in Alberta journeyman.
Yes, so Russ is saying, I've been an Alberta journeyman for 22 years. I've been paid the same as any Red Seal electrician. I missed getting the Red Seal by 3 marks back in 1998. I would like to get it.
Well, take the course. Take the refresher course. I already, what's the gentleman's name?
Russ.
Russ, what's the difference in the rate? Is there a difference in the pay rate, or are you looking to get your master's?
Russ, I'm going to give you permission to talk if you want to respond. You're live. Do you have your microphone on, Russ? We can't hear you right now. There might be a little audio issue on one end there. If you want to type your response, that would work as well. Just for you, Victor, yes, he did mention that he was paid the same as any Red Seal electrician, but he is looking to get certification, so
yeah,
obviously for another reason.
Russ, you know what? I'll tell you this. The worst thing that could happen is if you take the exam to upgrade your license is you're not successful, and then you could come to Ashton. I mean, like I said, the school will be happy to help you out with that. And I know the instructor. He's a good guy, right? Very knowledgeable. I know the gentleman that teaches the electrical. He's very knowledgeable. So
awesome. Thank you, Victor.
No problem.
And so for our attendees, we are just about to wrap up. If you have any outstanding questions, or if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, you can always email us, ceinfo@ashtoncollege.ca, or you can give us a call. The continuing education phone number, 604-891-1256. Monday to Friday, we'll answer the phones. We're happy to help you out and give you any guidance you need on the Red Seal exam prep courses. So Victor, thank you so much. I know we're about a minute over time. I always like ending off with a final question though. Just putting it back to you if you have any final words of advice for our students and prospective attendees here.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter what trade you're in or whatever, or what you decide to do. I'll tell you this, whether you choose Ashton or you choose a different institution, you'll never go wrong with educating yourself and bettering yourself. All right? So I would encourage everybody that if you're on the fence about writing the test, I would suggest go write it if you don't think education's for you. But on the flip side, if you do decide that you want to better yourself and take a course, everybody here, we're very, very knowledgeable. We'll be happy to, to be your mentor during the time. And we all like to hear success stories, because every Ashton instructor, we are a success story. Okay, every single person that teaches here. All right, so like I said, education, you're investing in yourself. Okay, and I'm going to leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Victor. It's been
You're
such a
welcome.
pleasure chatting with you,
Yeah.
hearing your insight about the course. I'm really excited for you. Oh yes, no worries, Russ. I know you couldn't get the mic working, but hopefully we answered your question for you. And thank you to all of our attendees for joining us today. And with that, I'll say have a great week, everyone.